It's the largest sculpture he's ever made. It's obviously exciting that it's going to be here in Times Square in the heart of New York, but we're particularly excited that it's going to come to Richmond, which is really where the whole project started.
We've been longtime supporters of Kehinde Wiley, purchasing the painting very early on in his career. And so when his exhibition, A New Republic, was touring, we knew we wanted to sign up to that. So we brought the exhibition here. Kehinde came for the opening and all the festivities.
He comes here. We thought for just one day, do a lecture, leave the next day. He picks up the phone, starts calling his brother and his friends in New York, and they descended upon Richmond for a week. And then, a little more than a year ago, Sean Kelly calls up and says, Kehinde's come up with this idea.
The story starts with going to Virginia, of course, and seeing the monuments that line the streets. I'm a black man walking those streets. I'm looking up at those things that give me a sense of dread and fear. What does that feel like physically to walk a public space and to have your state, your country, your nation say this is what we stand by? No. We want more. We demand more. We creative people create more.
Look at this crowd, this diverse crowd of individuals that have come out to see the most important acquisition that this museum has ever made. And I may add, it was a unanimous decision by the board.
We are proud and honored to be the future home of this significant, inspiring contribution to our public art and our public discourse.
And without further ado, I think it's time to unveil something. Rumors of war, ladies and gentlemen. Rumors of war. We come from a beautiful, fractured, sometimes terrible past. But I think the job of artists is to be able to take all of those myriad pieces, to be able to imagine them coming back together, to be able to look yourself, you, your black body, you, your female body, you, your trans body, whoever you happen to be be able to see yourself in this place that we call America.
We like to work with artists who are very intelligent, who are sort of coloring outside the lines and being provocative or political with a small p. And I think that Kehinde's work has always done that.
Kehinde Wiley really comes on the contemporary scene in the 2000s. And what he was doing, which was very interesting, was looking at European classics of the 1800s, the 1700s, and understanding that they were iconography of power. They were about status. And when and where the black body enters into that conversation. And he began to really look at those frames and replacing white subject matters with black subjects.
Kehinde Wiley is clearly the hottest, most popular visual arts star, not just in the country, but in the world. Such a fabulous artist, a painter, a sculptor. He also was relevant.
He really was enamored with our Monument Avenue. He was enamored with how power and status are framed differently than the two-dimensional. What came of that was a new framework, a new idea of how to speak, taking what he knew from paintings and the sort of classical frameworks of painting and transposing that into the three-dimensional object, which is sculpture.
It obviously appropriates the imagery from the Jeb Stuart monument, with the exception that General Stuart's not sitting on top of the horse, but a young black person. And of course, with Kehinde, he's made his mark being able to take young people of color, men and women, and put them in positions of authority, beauty, power, majesty, that we literally, in this case, can look up to, because it is so massive. I mean, the pedestal's 16 feet tall, so you have no choice to look up in the sky, and that's important. with the creation of this monumental sculpture, he is changing the conversation about something we are all talking about all the time, which is the monuments to the dead Civil War heroes.
What has been a part of the conversation is a very binary. Do we keep them up? Do we take them down? How do you shift that conversation with just one object? And Kehinde Wiley does it. He does it in a very eloquent way. He does it in a very poignant way. To quote the monument that is on Monument Avenue and to affix a Black subject matter within its framework shifts the conversation, and it shifts the gravitational pull from Monument Avenue to some other place. And when you have that balance, then you can talk very differently.
Is it monumental? Absolutely. Monumental in pure size, monumental in beauty, but it's also monumental in the message that it gives, because it says that a black man, a black woman can be displayed in regal splendor on a horse in the capital of the Confederacy, and we will appreciate that.
December 10th, we are going to unveil it. It will sit in a grass area between our two drives that come in off of Arthur Ashe Boulevard, and it's massive. And we're going to make it a celebration because we think it's a new day for Virginia. We think it's a new day for a conversation about the Civil War and Civil War monuments. And quite frankly, it's a beautiful work of art.
I hope everybody will see it as a really significant, substantial statement that talks about the future, and it talks about how exciting the city of Richmond is, how forward-thinking it is now, and that everybody can rally around that, and it can be a really positive moment.
Kehinde Wiley came to Richmond 3 years ago, saw Monument Avenue, and he, through a grand, majestic work of art, is changing the conversation today.
And there's moments where art has to step in. And today, we say yes to something that looks like us. We say yes to inclusivity. We say yes to broader notions of what it means to be an American. A call that says, this is my America too.